And good morning. Welcome again. Been a few days. Hello, Cindy. Thank you so much for the like. I think I got camera all mixed up. I haven't been on in days, so it's probably all a mess. I'm a mess. It's all a mess. Welcome back. Abbreviated show. And I appreciate all the support. I really just came on this morning to really well. It's a lot of new change. Let's tell you right. There we go. A little bit better off the screen there. My other thing I'm going to have to get hardwired. It's a new month, May the 1st. It's a new day, changes in my life. Birthday's in a few days this week. It's in 5 more days. It'll be a birthday. And just a hard week. And I appreciate all the support of all those that's reached out. And there's probably tons of people who don't even know what has happened. So I did lose my wife last Sunday night. Very quickly, we had aired. I said last time I was on here Saturday morning with a Biscuit Boy, and we had I think we did two shows, and I spent all of the rest of the weekend, just taking care of things, and all day Sunday until we went to the hospital. So I haven't been on since. We haven't quite got to the um, point where we have those that are ready to fill in for me. They're co-hosts. They're not host, and they don't feel comfortable with that. They do a great job, and maybe they will have that in the future. So the plan is one day to have where if I'm out, we don't miss a show. So we'll work. It's hard to get. It really it takes a little bit. Not everybody can do it. I'm working on the technical part with people now, and they can do it in a pinch if they need to. But for days in a row, we're still working on that. So it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter to me. It's just saying, I want the show to go on. They always say the show must go on, and so we have developed over 2 years. It's been really 2 years now. Amazing. We think back all the pre-planning and stuff that went in the 2 years to get here. My wife was a big part in that. Helped a lot with the background stuff, and it's been kind of our anniversary. I think May was the first. 2 years ago was the first video that went up for me and Robert. I want to think that was. I think it was May. I think we kind of got into May. We ended up releasing a few videos. We started doing we was doing recorded shows back then, not live. I don't think we were allowed to. I don't think we had enough subscribers anywhere. We didn't have any subscribers when we started, and we have over 60,000 across all streams that are subscribed. Thankful for that, and we worked hard, and we're going to continue to work hard. It's a big adjustment, a lot of big difficult days. I was actually up early this morning working on changes to my insurance policies. Those things you have to do, and I'd actually already been trying to work on that, and it just wasn't able to do it. Got it done this morning. Can't sleep. Yes, you go to bed late and you're up in the middle of the night and you just grab whatever time you can. And then there's all this stuff that's got to go on. Anybody that's lost anyone, a spouse, or a parent or whatever. There's all these things you got to get, and you can't do most of it until you have death certificates. All that stuff's in motion and on the way. It's been such a crazy time. I haven't even filed my taxes. I got an extension for that. I told some people at the funeral home. We just hadn't had time. It just was too crazy, and we'll dig in and get all that done. Got a great family. I appreciate all the friends, coworkers, my goodness, church members, previous, present. I mean, the list goes on and on. Um, that come by the funeral home, send a kind word, continue to do that. I can't say enough. Been a blessing to my whole family. Yesterday was a hard day. It is for anybody. It got even harder when my son showed up, and we just a lot of the scene changed. It was really a lot of tension there. There's a lot of great things, a lot of tension because we had some rules to follow, and it was a little bit chaotic, and but there was a lot of grace extended. We didn't expect, and we appreciate that. And I didn't know my son was going to speak at the cemetery. He's always, been really good to step up and speak up, and it was hard on him. I've talked to him a couple, 3 times. He's worried about me now, so he calls me and checking on me. I think he called me last night like 11:30. Of course, I'm not asleep because I can't sleep. And I don't know how long they can call. I guess midnight or something. I don't know. Anyway, he calls me, and I'm like, I'm trying to go to sleep. So like, take care of yourself, Dad. Now he's like, I can't lose you. So I'm okay. I'm here. So I came on to say I'm here. We'll talk about a few things. We're not going to be a heavy show or nothing like that. We got a lot of going to run around with fun. We got some family things to do today. Kind of wrapping up, kind of going forward and stuff like that. My sister, what a godsend! All my family, but my sister coming in from out of town was to us. Oh my goodness, just come in and rescued the day. Heather, you're just amazing, and you just did so much. I can't even, and it was all for Lynn. It was my wife's name. Just making sure that everything went right for her, and it did. Great job by the funeral home, the cemetery. We'll be having a show in the near future and we're going to highlight the cemetery. There's a lot of history there, and Miss Vanessa's cemetery. I've known her for years. She loves history. We talked a lot when we went to make sure everything, get everything settled. She was giving me some of the history of the place. There's some local history that ties in. But then I want to talk about and get information out about. It would be a kind of a combo show to be talking about prearrangement. Really pay attention, and it'll be an informational type show of warning. And there things, and we look back to that dreaded C word, COVID, and for a while there we couldn't even say that word. That booed us on a couple of channels. I don't know. We hadn't had that happen lately, but the word straight from her mouth is COVID destroyed our country. And she had some very strong things to say about insurance. And then Biscuit Boy will be coming along, and he'll be just sharing information that will help protect assets and get the right kinds of insurance. And this is going to be something that we want to really promote as a help. And I was sitting there and I talked to her about it, even with all that was going on. I'm like, we need to have something about this because it's eye opening, and I'll save that for the show. We're going to set it up as soon as we can. We got to get our legs under us a little bit, but here in the next couple of weeks, I hope that if we can work. She's busy. It's a family-run cemetery, and just how they got done by insurance, and so a word of warning. So be careful. I always say prearrange. It's important to do, but you got to just make sure, because there were a lot of people did prearrangements around that time that they didn't pay off, and it nearly crippled their business. And we'll get into that when the time comes. And we spent, oh my goodness, I was probably there an hour just talking about situations, and it really was eye opening to my family. Some who, like, well, okay, we didn't know that, we didn't know that, we didn't know that. And like, okay, now I'm making me think. We've talked about it. Now we really need to kick in gear. And we always say that. Really make sure you got those things taken care of. And it changes the funeral industry itself. I hope to follow up and maybe get someone, if they'll go on record from there. We didn't have any problems there, but just some things you need to know, informational stuff that, my heart just, like, I don't want anybody to be, hit with that. So going forward, getting some of that information out there is so very important. Lessen that load. I would say you don't want to leave your kids, problems, and that's part of the wrap up that I'll be doing for myself. Part of that was already done. We've got that done for me as well, so that when my time comes, it won't impact my kids, and they don't have to make hard decisions, in a time of grief and all they're going through, the emotional, turmoil, tragedy they're going through. And that didn't happen in this way. It was nothing transferred to the kids, but I don't want it to happen. So it's rest with me. And then, I have the youngin, and she's, I've had insurance on her, and looking at costs have skyrocketed. I was a little shocked, not a little bit. I knew it went up since the last time I was there, but I didn't know how much. And, it's, even the basic, I'm talking basic. And some people have, good deals. There's some places you can do cemetery stuff. It's a lot cheaper than others. You may have that, but there is a range in funeral costs, depending on where you go. And we were at one, it was not on the upper scale or nothing like that. Probably is one of the lowest, but the costs are skyrocketing. And when you start going down that list, and you're going down every line item, things you have to have legally, you have to have. And I mean, I was just like, check, just keep moving. I wanted to kind of keep it as brief as possible. And, I mean, it's you're sitting there like, okay, you're mentally like, okay, where's this at, but I was thinking for the youngin, God forbid anything happened to her, I've got to up her insurance. It would not be adequate where I'm at. It would have been a few years ago, and when I took it out, it would have been. It's not now. It's not adequate, and so I'm going to have to double, or maybe a little bit more than double what I have on her. She'll be 14 this year, and things happen. I mean, we see these bus accidents, or you get in a car crash. There's all kind of things that can happen. I mean, it's medical. I mean, we don't know. And she needs to be covered even more. But like we know, everything's going up. I mean, it's tremendous cost increases across the board for many things that are going on in life, and it affects that industry as well. And it is a business. I mean, look at it that way. It's a industry. It's a business, and they do deal with compassion, but it's a business, and you got to look at it like that. And it's guaranteed business. I mean, it's not going to be where it just stops. The people are going to continue to pass away. And the people we've dealt with, great, just awesome. There's a lot of great things that happen. There's a little weird oddities. There's some tough things that happen. I guess anybody that goes through something like that, you'll have stories to tell or something like that. And so it's I would say that the people at the cemetery, they were very hard about a lot of things about insurance. And so it's and I understand because it's a family business, nearly put them under. I learned a lot about the local area and cemeteries I didn't know, and made me feel even better about some things. And they're awesome people. But wherever you're at, and I know a lot of people are going to cremation, and I understand why. And even that's going up. I mean, cremation is going up, and there's a lot of ways you can do, but there are and it's really, I mean, all that is personal decision, right? It's personal decision for how your family feels, and I don't judge anybody because there's people that don't believe in it. I understand that, but whatever, people get caught in situations because they don't have pre-plan, because they don't have any idea what they're going to do, and then they're confronted, and they're trying to, raise money. I mean, we had a family in the same time frame this has happened in our family. Uh, they had a son to pass, and he was adult, but just a shocking thing. And they had to do some fundraising to take care of those things, and that's where you're at. And you don't need that. You don't need that, and find a way, however, to not be caught like that. I've seen it. I mean, you do deal with it, folks, especially if it's clergy or you're helping people, or as a family member, you're going to find people that are doing that. And sometimes that gets dropped into people's laps they didn't plan on. They're the last living help that they have or something. And it would be a gut punch to financially to anybody who's not prepared, who that gets left to, because the person who's going on, their fight is over. That's done. But those things that are not taken care of are left to family. So, and like I said, it is a business, and they have to run it as a business, and there's expenses to all of that. But I was looking at the time frame when my mother passed away for just the base starting point, where you have a bunch of add-ons. I mean, it's 2 pages of add-ons or 3 or something, different things, what you're selecting, and just the base start had went up. I see. I'm trying to think. I think it had went up a good $1,000 easily, might be a little more than that. From but that's just the starting point. That's just where you start at, whatever that figure is. I don't want to say that figure. It's not for me to say. And it'd be different at different funeral homes and businesses. But that starting point was because it was at the same place in the same room and all that. So several years apart, many, many years apart. But I'm really shocked it wasn't more, to be honest. But everything went up, and that's what happens. So when you go in with your memory and you kind of figure in your head, like, okay, just for basic, what this may cost. Hello, Faith. Just what this may cost your family or yourself or whatever. Be ready for the escalator that you're not ready for, because it's there. And it's changing. It's just changing. Funerals I think, and because like everything is changing in our country, in America, I'll say, and funeral industry is changing. I mean, there are changes that are coming. I mean, it's just as we change, things, people's requests change. The cemeteries have changed, depending on where you're at. The one we're at, they've all went to flat markers and all that. And I know that there have been marker companies that went out of business. It's a changing dynamic. Cremation is changing everything. And so that probably causes costs to go up on the other side of that because more people are choosing that. But where you used to do cremation really cheap, that has changed. And it's not as well, and it's not as cheap, but it's a lot less. But it would be a lot different now compared to what it was a few years ago. It's way different. There's a lot of differences there for that. So didn't mean to, hello Mindset Daily. Thank you for joining on Instagram. And not intending the show will be about. I just want to announce that we're going to do that. And then there's some history there, going back, because this was the repository for a lot of for our area, and it became a worldwide known event. The Mars Crematory, this cemetery became the repository of a lot of those remains. They donated land, and I learned a lot about that. And there was some other history things about it going all the way back to war between the states and in that area. The cemetery's not that old, but things there and some other things that she told me. So we're going to do some on the ground and video and go in there and doing a report from there. Then we hope to have, if we can get her on. I told her I'd like to have her on, just because that would be informational and help people when you're going through this. So anyway, that's a lot of talk about nothing, but it is important, and we'll get to it soon. Just continue to pray for us. It's we're okay. It's difficult days. You know how it is. It's a new normal that we have to get used to. I'm thankful, so very thankful I have my granddaughter and a little dog that I don't know if the dog ever really likes me, but the dog is there. So at least it's barking. It reduces the quiet. It's not, silence. So I have and me and Kaylee, we know how to give each other space, like she knows, she likes her space sometimes, and everybody has to have their quiet moments or times you just snuggle up with a book or whatever. So we kind of understand that with each other, but we also there to encourage each other. And she checks on me and makes sure I'm all right. She's been by my side and has been doing all those things. And all my grandchildren have been coming up giving me hugs, and they're just amazing that way. I want to thank, and I'm going to send a letter of appreciation to the law enforcement who worked with us, getting our son to be able to come to the funeral. And there was a lot of things in that. Like I said, it got a little tense at one point, and but when it all worked out, and the officer was very gracious beyond what he had to be, and he was there to do a job, nothing else, but he was very gracious. And we did a lot of planning on the spot and talking about things, and it was really a blessing, but it was really hard on a lot. It was great in one way, but hard in a lot of ways, and ended up getting some things we didn't think. I didn't know he was going to get pictures and stuff, and it was kind of neat. We've been posting some of those, and my son standing up at the cemetery. He wasn't there for long, but the things he said was pretty doggone amazing. I think Biscuit Boy, who was there, and God bless Biscuit Boy and his wife. Biscuit Boy was there throughout the duration of this whole thing, and just being there. He was, moving about and plugging in, and just doing things. And I can't say enough. Well, one of my best friends in life, just how much he'd done. And I told him, but he was telling me he said, it takes a lot of guts to do what your son did, a lot of guts. And I said, well, he has that. He really does. He's a pretty amazing young man. Even I can say that as his dad. He's pretty amazing. He's made some mistakes, but he's got so much. He's got a quality about him, and I've always said that where people listen. He's one of the guys when he talks, people listen. And he took that moment, and I talked to him later. And, it caught me off guard. It really did. Thank you, Watchman. Appreciate that. Just keep praying for us. As you know, it's the last few months has been very challenging. And if I've seemed out of it sometimes, that's why. If I seemed aggravated or frustrated or whatever, probably it was probably an element of that involved. Shows canceled involved, absolutely. That can't. That was never first. It's therapy. It was great. I love doing what we do, and we want to keep it going. So we want to have that ongoing, presence because we enjoy it, and everybody that's associated with our shows, whatever part they're associated with, because not everybody is a part of every show, but wherever they plug in at, they love it. But there at the end, we were. I mean, it was a. And I would say, I just want to say to those that don't know, I mean, she passed away Sunday evening. It was very, a lot of grace. It was very peaceful. There was no, it was a little bit of chaos afterwards, where we still weren't sure really at the moment. And working with two different organizations and the hospital and all that everybody goes through, and going in your private room and and having those moments that are very hard, and having to call people and let them know, who don't know, and it's hard. I mean, and that falls to me, and mostly, and I had some help with that in some cases, and just comforting people, and that's very hard. But it all, Sunday we didn't, like I said, I didn't go past 12 on Sunday or Saturday. We were not on, and then I didn't even do the Sunday morning. I just felt like I needed to be by her side all day, and had no idea she's sleeping more, a little more. And if I had really, you just want to wish for the best. You're thinking, okay, I got one more time. And in the scheme of things, I thought that, she wasn't. It wasn't time yet. I mean, I didn't think nothing like that. But looking back, I think some of the things I probably should have picked up a little bit more. But I'm always a positive guy. I'm always the glass is half full. And, I don't look at it and go, oh my gosh, this is it. Wasn't like that. And it was very quick, and it was just over. And if somebody has to go, I can say that was a lot of grace, because I've known people. Mary, we just celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary, April 3rd. So we just crossed that. She didn't make her birthday, which was in October. She would have been 65. And so my birthday is this week. It was, hope we get past that and have that again. But we did have, and really we're together 42 years. I mean, we dated for a good while, knew each other for a good while before we were married. So I think it was a couple of years. So I think of when I first met her, and I think it was that long, might not have been, but I know it was over 40 years, at least 41. I think it was closer to 42. And we had a great life. It's a blessing, and just you move forward. And again, you always hope that they can get better. You always hope that they're strengthened. When she came home from the hospital, she actually got stronger for a bit, not in some ways, but in other ways. But she really, it just started Friday afternoon where, I mean, we were actually talking about getting her out on Saturday and letting her take a ride, and and it just by Friday evening, I said I don't think it'd be a good idea. And she was still cognizant. She was still, we watched we watched the Braves together, I think, on Saturday night's game. I think we did. I don't remember, but I know not excuse me, Friday night's game. Saturday she slept a lot, and then into Sunday she slept a lot. Yeah, man. It is a long time. It is hard, and it was. You just find yourself, you do good and then you do bad, and or you kind of lose it. I want to thank again coworkers and the people I work with and for, and how awesome they have been through all this. There's so many names. Like every time I think I've got everybody, thanking them, I'll think of one more like, oh, I hadn't done that. I need to do that. So I'm sure I'm going to still be doing that in the days ahead, and I've tried to get everybody, because they deserve that. They have been so many people that have blessed us in so many ways. And, and then the two families really coming together. And, one of my nieces, she's like, at the cemetery, she said, I can't, she was like, I want us to stay in touch. You're still my uncle. I said, dang right I am. And she's, she was trying to tell me, she told me she loved me. She's like, I can't say any more than that. I'll start crying. I said, you don't have to say anything. Put your number in my phone. Because Lynn was really the conduit. Lynn kept in touch with everybody. So I didn't even have numbers for a lot of people, because I just go to Lynn. It's like, Lynn, she kept me updated. She was the glue, and she kept me updated, and what was going on here, there, and I didn't have to do any of that. So now, okay, put your number in my phone, so we can. And other people have said the same thing. That's from, that she spent much more time with than I did. I was usually working or something, but people, her sisters. She's had two sisters to pass before her, and so it was hard for them. They're reliving that, losing their mom, and now they're losing their aunt. And it was so very tough on them. Well, they got the pallbearers. I need to send out a thank you for them, and some of those that were helping with their aunt that lost their mom previous years. So they know, and it was kind of like you come together. That's what happens in funerals, right? You come together and you say, we got to quit meeting like this. But it's, a lot of times that's where you meet each other. Our life is so busy. And there were so many people that wanted to come that couldn't come. And I'm thinking the room was packed, I was thinking where we would put them. But, everybody's life is crazy schedules. And so many have reached out from out of state and, just keeping, wanting to keep, stay in touch and, things they're going through, and it's just life, and we all got a plan for that day. Like to think about it. My family don't want to even hear me talk about it like that right now. Don't say anything about that, but it is true, and you got to think about it and be prepared for those things. But I think the thing we always say, we always hear, is live each day as it's your last. If it's, because it could be, you never know. This, we knew there was a lot of sickness and everything. We didn't know it was going to be the last day. Don't go to bed with anger in your heart with people. You can not agree on stuff, but don't be mad. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Just forgive, take the high road, as I call it. And I know people that's happened to. They were mad at someone when someone died, and they really loved each other, but they were mad over something, and then they didn't get the opportunity to say that. And those last moments, and there's always going to be people, even in my family, who say, I wish I'd, reached out, or, reached out a little more on that day or whatever. But it's just the way it is. Everything was said previous in days. I mean, a lot. So it's just on that moment, it was really just me, my wife, and my granddaughter at home. And she had just got back a couple of hours before it happened. And so she was there at the moment, and we handled that together. And it was so very hard on her. In one way, I'm glad she was there. In one way, I wish she hadn't have been there, to be honest. And then, but it was very quick. I mean, it all went into hyperdrive, as you say, warp speed. And, but big thanks to, the EMTs. I want to reach out to all these, the EMTs, the ambulance service, and the hospital themselves, who did just such a great job. And the funeral staff and everybody. I don't have any horror stories or nothing like that, but there are some things at the moment that was interesting. We'll share those in days to come. Not today, can't go through that today, but I've told a few people. But it's just where you get caught in between conflicting things. It's like, who do I call? What is this? And they kind of got bounced around a little bit, so that was kind of weird. But in the end of it, my wife was with Jesus. While this is going on, she was with Jesus, and I know that. And like I said, it was peaceful. So I just want to say thanks again for. I know we didn't know each other in high school, Watchman. It's really weird. Her family, her dad. She lost her dad when she was 13. He died in a trucking accident. I never knew him. Mom was just a second mom to me, Golden. And anyway, she lived in an area, a town near us where we live now. We would have never met, probably, except for this. God just works things out that way. And it was a couple things. Her family lived near the interstate in a neighboring town, and the state didn't have an off ramp at that location, and they decided to put one. So they bought them out. They bought there were 4 or 5 houses there. I think they left the end property. They could still be a business, and I think it's a gas station now or something. For a while, it was a car lot, but they bought the property up. They moved to basically the town that I live in. Probably, I'd say, a few years. It wasn't a ton, handful of years before I met her. And we met through a guy that I worked with who introduced us. And he said, y'all got to meet. Y'all are just made for each other. And I'm like, dude, I'm not looking for anybody. I really wasn't. My life was kind of chaotic at the time. He's like, no, no, no. His name was Chuck. He was out of the Marines, and we worked together. He was a funny guy, and he's the one that introduced us, and the rest is history, as they say. Chuck, shout out. You did good on that one, son. I haven't. And the funny thing is, I lost contact with Chuck, and I have not seen Chuck in probably 40 years. I mean, honestly, I was still around him up until close to, I guess, the time that we got, maybe a little bit past the time that we got married. A little. I don't know. I don't think so though. I think he just introduced us there where we were dating. We were still knew each other, and then I lost contact with him. I took another job. He took another job, and we just lost contact. And that wasn't the days of cell phones, where you put the number in the phone. We didn't, and he was kind of in transit moving. He was living with a dude. You know how it is. You're bunking with a guy, and mostly stuff in the car. There's stories I could tell about that. And then he was looking for a place on his own and kind of, just figuring what he wanted to do. I think he had went through a breakup or something with the person he was with, and we just knew each other from work. He was a coworker. We lost touch, so I have no idea where Chuck is at. It's Chuck the Marine. I have no idea where that dude's at, but maybe one of these days I'll catch up with him again. Hopefully in heaven. Hopefully, I don't know if he's a Christian, but he was really nice to me, and he knew her. And I've told the story. My wife, family, not her direct, like her mom, she had family that owned a bar, and she was working at a bar, and I was like, a bar? I don't want to be nobody at a bar. But my granddaughter, we're transparent. Everybody's got a story, and that's part of it. And my grandchildren just love to tell that story. Yeah, they met at a bar. People look at us, all these church people and stuff. I'm like, life is life. That's where we met. Crazy, hard bar too. Not like Cheers. It was a hardcore bar, biker like bar. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. But yeah, absolutely shout out to Chuck the matchmaker. And it was like, and I was just going through a time because my mom and dad had divorced. We were just going because I was 19 when we met, and she's a little older than me. And so I was like, dude, man, I can't. My life is a wreck right now. But what happened is she just saw like this guy looks like he's going to fly away with the wind. She would say that like, you were so thin. I'm not now, you can tell, but she said, you look like if a good wind come up, it just blow you away. And I was just doing all these sports. I eat on the run. I didn't eat much, and probably looked like just a stick. I was real thin, and then she just come in and saw this need, and that was her life. She come in at the board's nest. Hey, buddy, I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't much like that. I'll tell you. We went to this. She introduced me. It's not there anymore. Thank God, it's not there. There's another bar. She knew this guy. I don't know if they were related. She wanted me to meet this guy, and we were dating at this time. And we went to this other one. It's near a Tennessee Highway Patrol office, which it needed to be because I bet they had to go down there, or at least the Chattanooga police. But you go into this place, and the tables were like pieces of tree, like the trunk, that was the table, sawdust on the floor. And we went in during the day just to meet the guy. They were a few hanging out. It's the kind of place where they say there's blood on the floor every night, and they mean it. And I've talked to police officers later who said that when he'd get a call to this place, he would go in with no less than 5 other officers. Because when you went into this place, you're not only trying to get the guy you're going in after, you got to fight 5 or 7 other people who's going to try to defend that guy. And I talked to officers who told me the other side of that story. So we would go in, and I could see it. I'm like, how is this even proper to have a license? This place, I was telling Lynn, like, my God, I would never come to this place. The place she worked at was pretty bad, but not like that. I mean, they had music and a band and all this. This place looked like something like a Boss Hog kind of thing or something. My God. It was a pretty rough place. I never went in there when they were open. I would never do that, but it was a rough place. And there's a few around our area that were like that. Probably still are. I don't know. A lot of those places, I don't think they could operate today. It was just a different time. But yeah, we met there. I got her out of there, and I was hated for that. I was. There were people that were mad at me about that, and it was before we ever got married. We yeah, that's right. That's exactly what's that there for. You just soak it up, put a little more sawdust down, and I mean it's the kind of place they all sit around in overalls and cowboy boots, and it was just it was a rough place. I'd say some of the old boys there probably were shiners in their day, moonshiners and stuff. It's what it looked like. It looked like something out of the 1800s or something. I mean, I was like, I can't even believe this place is a business. I can't remember the name of it right now, but people in our area would remember if I told them where. They would probably remember it. But it's not a place you'd want to take your date. If you did, she better be she better be tough because I'm going to tell you. Uh, but I got her out of the bar, and she went into some other jobs, and then eventually she hooked on with a career that she had, and kind of had two careers. But there were people mad at me. I'm a new guy. I'm coming along. I'm changing things for her. But we made it work. That's why when we went and got married, we did it on our own. We didn't. It was so much chaos, kind of going around our both sides of us because my side wasn't really sure about her, and I'm sure they weren't sure about me, and baby makes three, so uh, we had baby on the way. We didn't intend that to be that way, but Jeremy, and so we went off and got married, and we planned everything. We just went. We just said, you know what, we're not going to listen to any drama. We were big about that. Always have been. We're not going to immerse in drama. We'll remove ourselves, and that's what we did. So we planned. We just planned everything out, and we hit. Yeah, yeah, something like that. Oh man, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall just to see what it was like in there. But yeah, it was. It was a dangerous place. But the other place really, and it was funny because we were. I don't know how long we'd been dating, but she wanted me to take her. She didn't drive. She didn't have a driver's license back then, so she wanted me to take her to one of the major hospitals in Chattanooga. She said, "I got to meet. I want to go check on a guy." And this guy, I don't know the story. I don't remember. Maybe he stepped out on his wife. I don't know, but she come gun toting down to the bar that she worked at and went in the restroom where he was at and shot him, and it messed his stomach up. I think she shot him right in the stomach. Was probably aiming lower, to be honest, and got him in the stomach. And he was going to be wearing a bag the rest of his life. But we went. He lived, but we went up to. He was still in the hospital recuperating from the surgeries and stuff that he had. And I'm like, my gosh, I'm not down with this scene. I never was a bar guy. I mean, I went there a few times because I was introduced there. I went down there to play some pool and meet her, and I was like, wow, okay. And I ended up hanging out there for a bit. Got to know the family, and they were great people or nothing like that. It was just a place where, and there were a lot of great people went there. But it had that element that would come in there. I mean, and people drinking, they get stupid. But I was telling I posted the story. Me and Lynn, we had this song that we liked, and when the band wasn't playing, they would turn the jukebox on, and we'd load the jukebox up with this sappy love song, and these biker guys would be getting mad trying to figure out who's who's because they wanted to hear Southern rock country and all that, and who's playing that song, and I can still remember that, and we would just giggle about it. But we were playing it for each other, So she'd load some. I didn't know she'd put money in. I'd put money in. Next thing, this song is played like 30 times during a 3-hour stretch, and bikers are getting mad. They wanted dance music, and that was a dance song. So a lot of great memories, and then we got out of there, and then I was so glad. It really was dangerous. It was. I mean, there was danger there. I mean, I saw bad fights. There were, I saw the whole bar in just a brawl. Craziest thing I ever saw. Police coming in there by the carload, and they would say, "Just sit, don't get up. If you move, they'll take anybody that's up." And so, just crazy stuff like that. I've seen funny stuff, met interesting people, but it's dangerous. And I, never hung out. And there were a few places I went. I never was one to hang out in bars. I just like music, so I would go to places later where it would be like a bar, but there would be a band there or something, and I was going to hear music. So I always liked the music. I wasn't into all the other stuff. I don't like being around drunks. I never have. I drank in my life. There was a time when I drank, but I was always, well, I would say in control. I wasn't one of those people. I just laughed more or something. I hated that. I don't like being around people like that. I do not like people that turn into Mr. Crazy or whatever, and they're wanting to fight everybody. I can't stand that, and so I'd remove myself from those situations. They always said Leonard Skinner didn't get drunk and fight. I mean, that was who they were. I mean, they were brawlers, and drinking made it worse. So um, it's just sometimes like that. Some people like that kind of thing. I never did. Um, and so we never were really hanging out. And like I said, my wife was never a drinker or anything like that. She just liked hanging out. She just liked, it was more like, you go somewhere to people watch. It was something to do. Instead of sitting at home, she would just go there. She wasn't making no really good money. She probably made a few tips, but she did a little bit of everything, from cleaning and cooking and occasionally bartending. She wasn't, and they loved her. All the guys, the truckers, and people loved her because she was adding. Her aunt was, I don't even know if she knew this, I ever knew this, but she would draw lines on the whiskey bottles, and be looking at the till and figuring all that out. Nobody giving away drinks. Well, Lynn blew that up. I mean, that's why they loved her they would get her to make their drinks because she would load them up. And they would, so and it's funny, true story though, when I first started coming around and we were, they found out we were dating. I got visited by some long time people that had been coming there a long time, that just because they all protected her, they all loved her. She was like their little sister or something. And and they would, if anybody ever said anything out of the way to her, they were bounced. I mean, they took care of the people. The people there managed all that. And of course, they had bouncers and family that were there, but everybody looked out for her. So was there danger around? Sure, but poor Heavy, she did. And but I remember getting visited by some, really good guys, but guys that had, like we would do for our sister, we would, do for our daughter. They did for her. She didn't have a dad, so it was kind of like in that role. And they came to me. They weren't mean, but they come to me and they said, kind of like, "What's your intention here?" And kind of like, you would sit down, some guy coming to visit your daughter or something. Let's sit down and talk. The giving words of wisdom that better be followed. When you take them somewhere, having them back at the right time. It wasn't having it right back at the right time, but it was the, we care about her. We love her, and don't do her wrong, kind of thing. I would never do that. I care about her, and the same thing's kind of, don't ever lay a hand on her, stuff like that. I respected it. I'm glad, actually. I was a little bit nervous. Like, I could have been dumped and never been found. I'm never that type. And they said, "You seem like a good fellow. We just want to have that conversation." I'm like, I respect it. I certainly wasn't going to buck it, but I was glad that she had people around her like that. But then I was thought, I got to get her out of here. It's like, let's get out of here. And she really did, and but because one thing she wasn't being paid no money, so she just figured it was, money that was due for her. And that was the story of her life, was really giving to others anyway, giving money, to other people, buying things for people. That was always my wife. So she was always looking for others instead of herself. I was always getting on to her about, that's great, I love what you're doing, but take care of yourself. You need something right now, and you're going and you're doing for others. So she would buy some things for herself, but my wife's wardrobe was never. It could have been a lot better. She could have had a lot more, but she had a few outfits, and that's all. She didn't. She would rather spend the money on somebody else. So even if she went shopping for herself, she would end up buying for somebody. And not that we had a lot of money, because we didn't, but there's no telling. There may be money stashed somewhere that she had put back to help somebody. My son was already telling me he was holding some money for her that she wanted him to hold it because she couldn't go, and I just told him to keep it. Use it for yourself and for your kids. It wasn't a ton of money, but it was a little bit of money. And and he said, "Dad, I've been holding this," and I said, for her, he had, he was helping us out. with a lot of banking and stuff like that. And so he was doing stuff for us. And I said, just keep it. I didn't even know he had it. That was just stuff they had worked out. So but that was her. But yeah, she poured them drinks. She poured them drinks heavy. And then her aunt would come along and she'd be checking that till and she'd be checking that line on them bottles. Oh my goodness, she'd blow up. I was there a couple of times when she said, "Somebody's giving away free booze." She she might have had suspicions, but I don't think she ever proved who. And Lynn was just smiling. But crazy, it's crazy history. You think back and you think about we were just young, because we got married. I was 21 and she was 24, if I remember right. She hadn't turned 25 yet. So she was older than me. So we had a good life. So no regrets. But I've been missing y'all. Been wanting to be on here, and I want to come on for a little bit, at least this morning. And regular programming will begin to start taking effect. Got to get back to work and just get busy with life. It's been a hard week, obviously, but we will probably have a little bit of broadcast tomorrow, a little bit, and then a little bit on Sunday, and then we'll try next week to kind of kick back in and just amp up as we go along, and depending on how the days are going. But I stepped out to go to the studio. My granddaughter hears me walk out the door, and she runs the door and says, "Be careful." I'm walking a few feet to the studio. I'm like, okay, I appreciate her being concerned, but she's been getting up in the middle of the night checking on me and stuff, and she'll, in the morning she comes and just sits beside me and covers up, and we have our little time together. That's our new routine now. Is in the mornings. Is that she's been out of school? Obviously, we'll go back on Monday, and we'll move on with life. But that's the way it is. And then I got all this stuff I got to get done. Tons of stuff. It's like, oh my gosh. Every time I think of something, and my family's helping, but every time I'll think of something else every day. Like I got to get this done. I got to get that done. In relation to that, some of it I can't do until official documentation comes in. So it's a big jolt to our family. It's very hard, but we're here and okay and happy and blessed by the Lord. And there's so much I want to talk about. I was kind of keep up a little bit with the news and stuff over the past few days and things that were going on. And when I was sitting with Lynn, especially if she was resting, I would just cruise I'd watch a show, but I'd be on the internet looking at stuff that's going on. So I did stay up to date like that pretty much until the last couple of days. I didn't do hardly any of that. I didn't look at my phone too much, but just other than to thank people and to post pictures and stuff, I wasn't looking at websites or news. But I've picked up a little bit of that in the last 24 hours or something. But I started doing some of that. But yeah, we'll talk more about it as we go. I'll share stories. All the shows are going to be dedicated to my wife because she really, really did support me in everything that I did. And you just never saw her on screen. My wife her family did not like having pictures taken. She got better at it. When grandkids come along, she really embraced it. But still had her moments. She's like, I don't know. But she took a lot of pictures, and she's always smiling in the pictures. And we'll share some of those as we go. And we're going to dedicate all the shows to her, maybe at the end of the show or something, because she did a lot of things behind the scenes, a lot of things to keep me going, to so that I could be on the air and running errands, picking up supplies, just surprised me all the time. It was a funny story. We were adding to the studio, and it was around Christmas time, and my wife had ordered this ice maker, which ended up my family uses it tons. It was sitting near her where she ended up in the hospital bed eventually, but it was in the living room. She just wanted it close by, and so I was like, okay, I put it together for her, and whatever we had to do, and if like 2 weeks or a week later, 2 weeks later, something another one shows up, and I'm like, what's this? Like, why do we have two ice makers? And she's like, I didn't, I said, did you order that? And she's like, no, but I'm thinking you had to order this. Like, you don't, people just don't send this big package, that comes in. It's decent size. And I said, well, and she didn't have any answers for me other than I'm thinking she ordered it for the studio. So that's where it ended up, and it's in the studio today. So that we have crushed ice and things in the studio. But my family, she led the charge to help get a mini fridge for the studio. She coffee maker, she did all that. I mean, that's just what she was. Loved to shop, but she was always thinking of others. And she bought a lot of things for some things I bought, but she helped. She did a lot of the things that she knew that we would need. Wives are wonderful. They snacks and things you think about. Just guys, we just go for it. My wife would go to the store and come back, and she'd be saying, even when she couldn't speak, this is like this is for here, and she'd point towards the studio. This is for the studio. Like water. Like she'd buy a case of water for the house and a case of water for the studio. That's so she'd come in with two cases. My son helping her. So things like that. I mean, just behind the scenes. And everybody that's doing anything, no matter what you're doing, there's always somebody behind the scenes that is helping. Whether it's a church or whatever it is, there's people that it's recognized and it should, but they don't want to be out front. They don't want their name in lights. They just want to do. That's the kind of person they are. They're servant, have a servant's heart. Pardon me, and they do that a lot. I drink of water. I've been battling. I'm glad the rain we got. The pollen's been bad, but that's what she did. She was really always doing stuff like that, and believed in what how we progressed in it. She believed in it and supported it. And a lot of the skits and stuff that I did in the studio were before they were ever loaded online. Were shown to her first because they were recorded, and if she laughed at them, it was a go. And if she found humor in it, that was job number one. If it made her laugh, then I didn't really care if anybody else. It's nice if other people liked them. Unfortunately, we found many did, but they were always that was the filter. If I could make her laugh and she enjoyed it, then it was worthwhile to do it. And so for the puppets and stuff, a lot of those skits and stuff, we I crossed it by her first, and that's watching her reaction was even I mean really even up until the last couple of weeks, I think 3 weeks before we last time we did that, we showed her some videos and she laughed at them, and I was like, okay, we're still doing good, because that's my audience. That's my main audience. If she was happy with it and laughing at it, then I figured somebody else out there in the world, they would enjoy it too. So not everything's for everybody, but you can't please everybody anyway. So you just do what you can do. As long as she laughed, I knew there would be others that would laugh at that too and enjoy the humor. Some people don't get our humor in the South, but that's okay. Just, even the grandkids would laugh if they rolled their eyes and still smile like, "Oh my gosh, that's bad, but it's funny." It's so bad it's funny because you got different generation. I'll just I'm gonna get off here in a minute. Just say to pray for my family. Again, we've had thousands of people praying. We don't even know the extent of it, but we'll know it in heaven. So many people praying for us as this thing clicked along. So many people praying and sending us notes. But then people say my church is praying, or I've sent this on to my prayer group, or you get all that coming back, and you're thinking of the tentacles of that, how far it went. Things you posted online, and you never know around the world who saw that. So we know there were people, thousands of people that were praying, and we appreciate it. We've always tried to pass on prayer request. When I see one, what I do is I'll recognize the prayer request online, and I'll pray, and then I'll send it on. Um, I had a guy misunderstood once on my Facebook in the last month. I forwarded and he got on to me, posted an ugly response, said, "How dare me try to make money off of his wife's need," or something. I'm like, dude, no, that's an automatic plug-in by the social media account. And I sent it on so others would pray, and my wife's going through a bad time too. So no, he never responded back. Hopefully he just realized, I just realized he's in pain, but he took it the wrong way and he didn't understand it. So I hope he at least took the time to realize that's not what it was. But I learned a long time ago when people's going through a really hard time, sometimes they're not going to be, they're going to talk harsh with you because they're they're in pain and they pour out. And I try to never do that. I think there was probably a couple times that, and I know I did. I was probably harsh in my response or something with my son or Kaylee or whatever. Is like, because I would be frustrated, and I realized, that's just strain and stress, and those things coming out. Well, nothing bad, but they look at you like, "Are you okay?" yeah. It didn't come out the way I wanted it, but you're just in the moment. It's very emotional. It's very hard, and you do what you can. But thanks for hanging in there with us. Sorry to be away. My wife would kick my butt if she thought that I sat down and did continue going, because she was always about that. Like, let's go. She never let me get down, and I got Kaylee here now to make sure if she saw me down, she was always trying to make me laugh or lift my spirits or something like that. That's just, you gotta have people like that in your life, and I try to do that for others. But everybody's got their moments, right? I mean, everybody's got a time where they're not really like joy, like not happy or you're frustrated or sad or whatever. My wife was always, and sometimes it's just feelings hurt or whatever. My wife was always encouraging me. If nothing else, she was a great listener to it, and I could. That's what we do as spouses, right? We kind of share those things, and the spouse hears things that nobody else hears, and she would hear the frustrations I had, and usually just venting it out was what I needed, and somebody listening, I said, then I'm not going to speak no more about it. But she heard all the times that I was frustrated with things that happened on the podcast or something, or just something that really bothered me or whatever, or didn't go the way I wanted it. They listen to all that because that's what we do for each other. And she would vent those things to me that were frustrating to her in her life, and through our whole life. There were times on her job I can remember her coming in so aggravated, so mad, so hurt. Things that happen on the job. Jobs can be brutal. People, I mean, that's what I mean. People you work with. I work with great people, but she didn't. She did work with a lot of great people, but there were a few that hurt her feelings. And I was there to pick that up and say, "Do you need me? You need me to go speak to somebody?" No. I don't want you to do that. But that's what you do, and you lift each other up. So we'll get off of here. I did stay on a little bit longer, but I'm glad I did. And pray for us. Got to go get ready. Got some things to do today, and then we'll try our best to get moving forward as the days goes on. Thank you, Watchman. Glad you're here. Hope things are well for you. And God bless you, man. I mean that, and love you. I mean that. I love everybody. And that's why I said to everybody at the funeral home, I'll close with this. My wife, she had big smiles and big hugs. But my wife had no enemies. My wife never said or did anything to anybody to make them an enemy, because she was not that person. And she really did love everybody. She really did. Even if somebody hurt her feelings, she would forgive. And if they got smart with her, she would forgive, and they could hug next. And she was always ready to reconcile and rescue a relationship. There was very few of that in her life, I promise you, because they were just idiots. They had to be to do what they did, because my wife would never initiate or do anything. And if she felt like she ever said anything, it would crush her to think that she hurt somebody's feelings, because she didn't. Sometimes my wife would say things in her mind, out of her mouth. And some people, didn't understand what she meant by something. Hey, happy birthday to you, man. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Yay. You deserve that. You got another year on the sphere, man, or the flat earth. I don't know which. But happy birthday to you. I didn't even notice. We was at the cemetery, and my granddaughter noticed it. Different months, but same date in the month that my mom died as my wife, and I didn't even realize that, because I don't really pay attention to stuff like that. I really don't. And I said, "That's interesting. I didn't know that." She's very, pays attention to a lot of stuff like that. I try to, but I think she takes it to another level. She's got a little bit of that. She notices when everything's moved or something like that. But yeah, you're welcome, man. We'll be back around. Miss a lot. I've got to check in with some folks. I tried a little bit, and when I was checking online on Rumble, some of the creators that I love listening to, they weren't on, and I was trying to catch them live. I just wanted to say, hey, watch some of their show. I didn't watch really anything like that. I was just going to catch up with them and say, hey. So we'll start doing that. There's some people I hadn't been in contact with for it's been a little difficult. It got a little, it got really, really busy near at the end, and we just was trying to. It was moment by moment, some days, minute by minute, and as they call putting out fires. There were different things that would pop up, and you're constantly trying to do that, and just really trying to keep the 24-hour care going, and still manage life. That's not always easy, and and just worn out. Honestly, yeah, if you've ever done that, and it's like you don't you're at a full stop and you don't know what to do yourself now. So I've talked to so many people that had this happen, and they say the same thing. You're going to feel like that for a long time. So me and my son for sure feel like that. My sister, because we were the ones involved mainly. There were a couple of others that helped when they could, but you feel like like I'm supposed to be somewhere, some doing something, and I can't, the freedom to just go get in the car and go somewhere. You can't do that. You have to have somebody relieve you. So it feels weird to just say I'm going to go to the store, or I'm just going to take a drive. It's like you feel guilty almost because you've been so used to making sure that there's somebody there. So um, probably be back on tonight, maybe late. We'll try to do something, and I'm hoping that me and Biscuit Boy can hook up in the morning. I'm sure we can, and we'll go from there. But we'll escalate back up. We've got so many shows that we haven't even introduced yet. We're trying to move some things forward. Today is Day of Family, and my sister will be in town for a few more days, several days, and we're going to spend some time together today as family. We're going to visit actually some of ours that have passed and put flowers on the grave. It's my granddaughter's idea today, and I thought it was a great idea. And we're gonna spend the day and try to do that before everybody's starting to get back to work and stuff. We'll catch up as much as we can. But that's kind of our plan today. Hope the weather will work with us. I think it's supposed to be a pretty day, and we're gonna spend some time together today and travel a little bit. I want to say shout out to my workplace and just wow, they've been awesome, and give me a lot of space, and I appreciate them so very much. And again, coworkers and stuff, they were amazing, and the churches that were involved, and my family, most of it, and Jesus. It's great. It's good to be back. We get some music dialed up, and we'll get out of here. Happy Friday, I guess it is. Is it Friday? Yeah, it's Friday, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. I can't even remember, man. But it is May 1st. Happy May, and the Taurus, the bull, and just kick off this new month. And you believe we're all, not that far from halfway through the year. Crazy. Things just speed up. We'll catch up with all the news and notes as we go throughout the weekend. And have a blessed day. We'll see you. Salute. Cue the song up. Yeah.